my company is pet services. It's not training.
Hmm.
Like the level of like revenue, I guess, is like
Uh-huh.
completely on a different page, like
Uh-huh.
way lower than like
Yeah,
people who
yeah.
have facilities, obviously, and things like that. So
Gotcha.
I don't know, like it just hearing you say like 6 figures a month on just ads is like
No,
jaw dropping.
no, so to give you, perspective, this client, he's not even in the dog training space. He's like so you know Mike Barron, the guy that you're getting the sales training from,
Mhm.
like he's my biggest client and my longest client. I've been running his ads for almost 4 years. So he got to the point where he can spend that kind of money just because, he was being profitable. I can tell you when I first started Canine, my budget is not the same as it was right now. So that's one thing about when it comes to running the ads is that, you scale as you go. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Like I don't want you to think just because I do have a client who spends, 6 figures a month that, you have to do something similar just because, one, it is a different niche. Two, he's making, 7 figures. So you can comfortably spend, that and scaling so it's just different types of level. Like I know some
Mhm.
advertising agencies that spend, like $20,000 a month, and to me, I'm just like, well, that's why. Like not to like, like not 20,000. I think it's like 2,000 a day or something, which is like 60,000 or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like there's just different, levels that I don't want you to get discouraged just because, someone is spending more than you, you know.
Right.
We had an individual that she made, seven, I forget it was, I think it was 14,000 that she cleared with the $500 ad budget, you know. Um,
Mhm.
and it was something that, she was working the leads. She, had the system, like she understood that, hey, like I know that I don't have the same budget, like for example, like Josh Avala's, but I'm gonna work my ass off for every single one of these leads, meaning, as soon as they come in, call them multiple times, different times of the day, text follow up, making sure that they show up to the appointment that they booked, it's all
Mhm.
one of the things that I've really, really learned when it comes to sales, it's like chess, like if you do this move, then this other move may happen, so it's like
Mhm.
if you're getting leads and you're not calling, and like for example, you call them, like a day or 2 or 3 days later, like like they're not gonna be you're not gonna have the same results if someone were to pick up, if someone who calls their leads, within an hour or two. Perfect
Mhm.
example is I had this client who came to me saying like, hey, I want, I want the leads, I want them to be qualified, and then ads were live. We kept following up. There was absolutely no communication for a month until later they were like, "Hey, how do I access my CRM?" And we're like, "What?" Like we've been, messaging you, we've been like, like your ads are live, bro. Like, what do you mean we haven't answered it? He called every single lead once, and they're like, "Hey, these are not qualified." you know? So it's like, well, of course they're not going to be qualified. They're not going to even know, they're not going to remember who you are or why they even opted in the first place if it was already, a month of you trying to call them,
Right.
Um, so I don't want you to get, what I'm trying to say, Shannon, is I don't want you to get this, discouraged of the advertising budget. Every person is different. Every niche is different.
Mhm.
This client that I have was spending that he didn't even get to that level till like years. It took him years to get to that level to spend that kind of, you know, that kind of money. But you can definitely get leads, work on them, follow up with them. That's why having a good social media presence is good and being active on social media, just because whenever you start running ads, you are going to get people to start following you. That's when you start, your
Mhm.
exposure starts, like people are starting to get exposed to your business, especially when it comes to your local area. So whenever you get a follower, it's like I like to look at followers as like kind of like an email list in a way, just
Mhm.
because you can post something and then they're just gonna see your stuff. And if they're engaged with you, they're gonna continue to see your stuff over and over and over and over again. It's gonna come to a point where, you know, when it comes to them being ready, to buy from you or buy, your services or services similar to what you're doing, which is, dog walking, the person that they're going to have in mind is you. They're not going to go on Google and type in, oh,
Mhm.
dog walker near me. They're going to have you in mind just because you kept constantly show up on their feed, you were engaged. And it just doing those little things that really, really matter. And that's really how, running ads or like, using, paid ads really work just because it's not sure, it can be seen as like a one-way street where you're like, oh, you're just getting leads fed to you. But
Mhm.
there's SMS follow-up, there's email follow-up, there's being active on social media. Like there's just so many things that kind of help with that sales process, and that's why having that, we call that online ecosystem really
Mhm.
comes into play.
And I just wanted to add in there too that don't overbuy um, ads because depending on, like, for instance, my business has just ran with me and my husband. $500, I'll say so far, $500 is given us way more than enough business. So, if we were to spend any more than what we're spending now, we wouldn't be able to keep up with the business. So it would be an injustice to us because we'd be, some people are okay with booking out, but a lot of people they need a fix right now. So I mean, we book out probably a month or so, but anything further than that, especially when people have a puppy, they're just going to go elsewhere. So $500, if you play it right and if you're communicating right with these people and making sure that you're keeping them first and taking the time to actually truly listen to what their need is and find any way to help them that is within business range for you, you're going to get the business is going to come to you. And I just wanted to say something. This was based on something that Jorge, you said a while back. Um, Literally, one of my clients, uh, basically, what I'm saying is, even if somebody does not qualify, treat them with the same respect and grace that you would treat somebody who sounds like they can pay. Give them the time on the call. Don't just like cut it short and hang up with them because I had a guy, and granted, old people are a soft spot for me. But, anyways, I was talking to this guy who's in his 70s, and he just flat out told me, hey, I can't afford it. I just moved to Georgia and I have this, and that I have to do before dog training. And I sat there and I talked to him probably for another 30 minutes on the phone. And 2 weeks later, I got a call from him saying that he ran into some money and he really appreciated all the help that I gave him over the phone and he signed up for a board and train. So,
Nice.
and now if I would have cut things short with him, like, oh, you can't pay. Okay, well, maybe next time, bye. He probably would not have called back.